What's up guys, I'm Jeff from Worldwide Cyclery, and one of the things I love about the bike industry is innovation. I've said that a number of times on this channel, and one thing that's been going on a lot lately is carbon wheel innovation, and there's a couple brands that are sort of leading that innovation in the right direction. Unfortunately, it's not making them indestructible or any more affordable, but it is making them ride incredibly well on your bike, and the brand we're going to talk about today that we've got a long-term review on is the Crankbrothers Synthesis wheels. So, the Crankbrothers Synthesis wheels. You probably know Crankbrothers more commonly for their pedals, but they also make a ton of other components, and they have been in the wheel game for quite some time, and they've always really, as far as I know, they've never done like a traditional boring wheel. It's always been something that's pretty innovative and unique, and that's what they did come to the table with here with these wheels. They spent a lot of time developing these. They work with Jason Shears. He's like one of the most world-renowned sort of carbon engineers in the bike industry that's done a oh, f me. I'm just gonna keep, you're just gonna use that as a clip. Done a bunch of different bike projects in terms of carbon engineering, and he's the one who worked a ton on these wheels. So what makes these things unique? So as carbon wheels have sort of evolved over time, they got really stiff, and that was actually kind of nice. And people, when they first rode carbon wheels, the stiff feeling was like, oh, this is awesome. These are so stiff, and they have that snappy feeling out of a corner, and that felt awesome, and they felt like it gave the bike a little bit more energy to it, which was really cool. But it also sort of made it too stiff sometimes, to where it was kind of harsh, and to where it would kind of like want to deflect you in rocks and stuff. So there wasn't like this perfect balance, and so that you could go to an aluminum bike and be like, oh, this is flexy, and then a bike with carbon wheels and say like, oh, this is awesomely stiff, but it's too stiff here. And there was never just this like perfect wheel set in terms of stiffness, and that's what Crankbrothers was after when they made these things. And what makes these unique is that they tried to put sort of a balance in terms of compliance and stiffness and engineer it into the actual wheel set. So to dive into how they did that, what makes the front wheel actually different? It has a lower spoke count than the rear wheel, so 28 spokes versus 32 in the rear. Lower spoke tension, a lighter weight spoke, a wider inner rim width, so a 31.5 inner rim width on the front versus a 29.5 on the rear. And I'm talking about the E series of these wheels. So if you want to check below in the video description, there's a link to a blog post that sort of lays out the different ones. They make an XC version, an Enduro version, and a downhill version of these wheels that have sort of different specs to them that you can check out on the blog article that we wrote. So what does this really do in terms of how these things ride? So before we dive into the tech specs, just to give you the initial thoughts, when I hopped on these, I was sort of immediately impressed once I spent more and more time on them and really got to notice that, because it was this like perfect harmony between the compliance of like an aluminum rim and a stiff, energetic feeling carbon rim. I loved it. I thought it was a really good idea, and definitely something that was wise for Crankbrothers to sort of go this route. Zip recently came out with their 3.0 Moto wheels, which also have a really unique concept really around the same thing. It was trying to solve the problem of we want energetic carbon wheels that feel good, but we don't want them to be too overly stiff. You need some compliance there. And Crankbrothers' ideology on the thing was, let's make that really be compliant on the front wheel and a little bit more stiff on the rear wheel. And when you hop on these things, you can definitely tell. They are pricey wheels, and let's dive into some of the tech specs. So Crankbrothers makes these things in an XCT, an Enduro, and a downhill variant. So XCT is sort of your cross-country trail bike rim. E is obviously your Enduro, downhill for your downhill bike. They're doing that, so they offer sort of different carbon layups and different widths in terms of the rims there. The rims are sold individually. They're $700 a piece, and the wheel sets go from $16.99 to $23.99. They do come with a standard hub on sort of the regular edition, and then on the 11 edition, which is Crankbrothers' sort of premium variant, they'll have an Industry 9 Hydra hub or a Project 321 hub. All of the rims have a lifetime warranty that sort of Crankbrothers has their own unique terms around, which is sort of standard and commonplace and to be expected with all good carbon wheels these days. As far as the tech specs between all of the little nitty-gritty details, please check the link below in the video description to go to the blog article where it has sort of graphs and all the layouts of all of the little specs and details. So after myself and Liam rode this wheel set for several months, we were riding the E11 with the Project 321 hubs. We definitely hammered on these things. Both rims on these are all scratched up. I definitely heard them ping off some rocks several times, and they're in flawless condition, and super impressed with the durability, super impressed with just the overall feel. It definitely does not feel like a crazy mega stiff carbon wheel that has like a huge deep V box section in it, but it also doesn't feel like sort of a you know, flexy, more aluminum rim. It's definitely a really good balance there. Very impressed with what Crankbrothers did. I thought it was a really cool idea. I think just carbon wheels in general these days are headed in the right direction, where they're getting more durable. They're all coming with lifetime warranties, which is awesome. And then they're also just sort of addressing the issue of feel, right, and stiffness, and how that sort of affects your ride. And they're really doing everything they can to sort of tune the wheel set to just make it work incredibly well. It's awesome. So super impressed with these things. And yeah, let us know down in the comments what you guys think. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one.